So my son's 14 years old, and despite the fact that he has never said a word in his life, I know exactly who he idolizes. His idol is Frank Ricard. And he does an absolutely fantastic impersonation of Frank Ricard. Now, that name may sound familiar to some of you because it is the name of the character that Will Ferrell plays in the movie Old School. Yes, my son's idol is Frank the Tank. Now, how do I know this? I know this because he has reenacted a particular scene from that movie repeatedly at every possible opportunity. Which is really weird because he hasn't seen the movie. And you know that scene.
I take, but we're going streaky! Yes!
Yeah, that scene. Over and over. He'll use his thespian talents at a backyard barbecue, at a birthday party, at church, for Christmas. More recently, he has taken to performing this scene for the entertainment of his female classmates in junior high. What are the problems that arise from stripping kids? Nakedness is very funny when kids are little. Once they go through puberty, not so much. People get really, really judgy when there is overt, full frontal nudity in a public place. Now, if by chance you have the fortune of having a child who is not fully potty trained, let me tell you this: a diaper is easier to remove than any piece of clothing. Any piece of clothing. You see, a diaper is essentially the world's most inefficient prison system. The inmates may escape from time to time, but as long as the walls are pretty much in place, then the inmates never fully escape. When diapers, I mean walls, get removed by your child who has turned against you and against law and order and against everything holy and sacred in the world. Anything, and I mean anything, can get a free pass out the front or back door of that prison that is intended to hold them. And let me just say, from a public safety standpoint, there are some things that you just really can't let hit the streets or the floor or the wall or the light switch or, God forbid, the electrical socket. Because that sucks to clean. Now, at this point in the video, people with kids are laughing. People without kids are debating whether or not they should even have kids in the first place. But there are a couple of you who are sitting with your head down, trying desperately not to recall things that you had promised yourself you would repress forever. This video is for you people. All right, we're going to start giving you a look here at what one of these onesies looks like when they're all the way done. But before we get started here too far, what is the deal with the children's fashion industry and why do they hate dads? Would you ever get away with a shirt that said something like this on it? No, any idiot that comes home with a shirt like that wouldn't be looking for a divorce attorney, they'd be looking for a bulletproof vest. Alright, with that being said, this is our first magic trick. We are going to take this regular, ordinary pair of shorts and that t-shirt that is totally normal and came right off the rack at whatever store this was bought at. We're going to cut it right down the middle. We're going to measure it with that precise measuring method that I used right there. And yeah, you're just going to take a pair of scissors and slice that baby right down the middle. Now hopefully you bought a zipper before you started this process, because I understand it is a nightmare to try and make one of these things at home. But luckily you can go to just about any store on the planet and find one for about $2. So we're going to take that cut edge on the back of the shirt and we're just going to make like a little 1/2 inch lip on it, and we're going to iron that baby down. And then we're going to take the very top of the zipper where the zipper comes together, and there's a little bit too much material at the top, so we're just going to chop that off so it doesn't stick up above our collar and make our kid look like their parent is an idiot that doesn't know how to sew. Now it's important that we use the right sewing pattern thingy there. For this particular project we're doing number 3, as you can see over there, because the booklet inside of the machine thingy here says that that will be really good and stretchy. You want a stretchy zipper thread design patterned thing. And then once you get that started, we're going to just take the very, very top part of that zipper and we're going to sew a little box right along that collar where that seam is that has been finished. I really don't know what words I'm supposed to be using. I'm not someone who sews a lot. I know everybody probably looks at me and thinks, hey, I bet you that guy can sew the crap out of something. But no, I can't. This is not my forte. But I'm doing this myself to prove that anyone can do this. So right up here, into that collar, I'm sewing a flippin' box. And there's nothing any of you can do to stop me. There's a couple things that this machine might be able to do to stop me or at least slow me down, but one way or another, eventually, I'm gonna get a box up there. Ah, beautiful box. Check that out. Alright, now real quick, you want to make sure that you keep those zippers lined up correctly. It is apparently something that people will mess up from time to time, and if you mess it up, you're gonna wish you were dead. So those little metal clips that stop the zipper from going up too far, you want to make sure those are pointed towards the middle of the back. And you want to make sure that you keep that folded edge that you just painstakingly ironed down in the appropriate place with the jagged edge folded underneath, and the folded edge is what you're going to sew right along that zipper. The little teeth part of the zipper are over to the right. The folded portion of the shirt is getting sewn right onto the fabric portion of the zipper, and we're gonna keep just rolling this thing down all the way until we're down to the bottom. Now if you really want to have some fun, you can notice that I have a facial tic that I have developed due to the stress that I am under, trying to make sure that I don't jab this needle through my finger or do something stupid on video that will be immortalized in YouTube lore forever. Yep, there it is. But you know what? I'm doing this for my kid, and that's what good people do for their kids. They make onesies so that their kid doesn't get caught streaking again at school, or their house doesn't get covered in poo. Alright, now we're flipping over to do the other side. We've already sewn the little box up at the top, and we also made sure to iron that little lip in there like we did on the other side, so the only thing that'll be showing off the back of the shirt will be our nice clean folded edge. And it's a little bit more difficult to get this side done because I gotta pull the shirt in through that little tiny flipping hole for my man hands, and you know, just trying not to get it like clogged up in there is a little bit of fun, but it's not really that bad. And as you can see, like, I'm going way faster on this one. This is like the second side that I'm doing. This is literally only the second time that I've done this, and like, I'm just buzzing through this thing. Whoop-de-freaking-do. Like, I could do this all day. I'm not sure what everybody was laughing at me about when I told them I was gonna do this. Like, I got some really mean reactions now that I think about it. And by the way, some of those sewing ladies at the sewing stores, they're not sweet little grandmas. Have you ever noticed how mean some of those ladies can be? Man, I won't be letting my kids take home cookies from their house on Halloween. They're probably poisoned or have chunks of other little kids inside of them or something. Jeez. But back to the shirt, man, I'm about ready to cry at this point. This looks so flippin' good, I don't know what to do with myself. So we're gonna flip this bad boy inside out, and now we're gonna try and line it up with our shorts. Now, there's 4 seams on the shorts. There's side seams and front seams and back seams. Okay, there's 2 side seams, a right seam, a left seam, a front seam right down the middle of the crotch, and a back seam going right back between your butt cheeks. We are staying on the same number 3 stretchy zigzagger pattern that we used for the zippers. Now I'm going to line up the right seam on the shirt with the right seam on the shorts. And I'm going to adjust that waistband because this thing has a drawstring inside of it, and I don't want to sew down the drawstring. I'd like this drawstring to still be able to work. So I'm going to get this thing lined up a couple inches behind the seam, and I'm going to sew right over the top of the right seam. And then I'm going to be careful not to hit that drawstring there. Just keep moving right along the top. I'm going to sew a couple inches past that seam, and then I'm going to flip it around 180 degrees and go right back over the top of what I just sewed. You don't even have to measure out how far you go. You're just going to kind of guesstimate about, quarter of the way around the shirt. You want to trim up your extra little string trimming so it doesn't get caught in your machine and all that fun stuff, but this is not rocket science. All you got to do is just go one direction, pull up that little foot, flip it around 180 degrees, and go right back. There's nothing you need to do at the end. When you want to stop, you just pull your foot off of the pedal. By the way, have you ever noticed how when you work with a sewing machine, it's kind of like being a fighter pilot? Most people don't realize this, but if you're a pilot, you actually drive with your feet. Like, you're controlling where you're going with your feet. So when you're using the pedal on a sewing machine, you can basically do the whole thing pretending you're like frickin' Tom Cruise in Top Gun, and like the ladies are like wanting you and stuff. It's awesome. That's pretty much what I did this entire time. I just cranked up a little danger zone in my head and pushed the pedal down to the metal, and look at this. I actually got so cocky that I started going so fast that the G's were too much. I couldn't take it. Oh man. Yeah, that's what happens when you go ballistic with a sewing machine. That's right, baby. Top Gun style. That's how we roll. Alright, so after we did that right side, we've come back over here to the left side. We lined up those seams, and we're doing exactly the same thing there. Watch out for the drawstring. Sew it one direction. Flip it around 180 degrees, sew it right back over the top of itself, and then stop. Now, the front and the back get a little bit more fun because you've got sewn up stuff that you got to kind of maneuver around, and you want to make sure that everything's like staying pretty even. So what you got to do here is get those two side seams put together with your one hand, and then make sure that you've got the middle part of the front of the shirt, like the exact middle of the front of the shirt, lined up with the front crotch seam, so that if, you know, you just don't want the front of that shirt being sewn to like a little bit cockeyed to one side or the other, it's gonna look dumb. So get those things lined up, and we're gonna do the same thing that we just did before on the other two sides. We're gonna back up away from the seam a little bit, and we're gonna sew right over the top of it. Stop, flip it up, flip up the foot, whip it around 180 degrees, sew it right back over, and then once that's done, all you've got to do is just sew up the back part. And we're gonna have some spots there, like you can see right by my hand, that there's gonna be some spots where it's not sewed. That's just gonna make it look like it's a shirt that's been kind of naturally tucked into a pair of shorts. So not a big deal. And the one thing we do need to be careful with here is that when we're sewing through that zipper, you want to make sure that you're not going to hit those metal parts as you're sewing across, or you don't want to hit like the zipper teeth as you're sewing across. And the backs of these shirts, for some reason, I don't know if they make shirts all this way or if it's just this one, but the back of the shirt is just a little bit long. I don't know if they do that just to like cover your butt or something like that, but I had to actually stretch this one a little bit down, so rather than sew it straight across the top of the waistband, I kind of pulled it down at an angle, and it seemed to just make the shirt kind of sit a little bit better. I sewed right through that drawstring that I was trying to avoid, but it's in the back, so who cares? The other parts of the drawstring still work great. It's already sewed in the back, so it's just never going to come out now. Whoop-de-friggin' do. I got an awesome onesie shorts shirt thing when I'm done. But we're going to do the exact same thing. Yeah, don't hit the freaking teeth, dummy. Alright. Laura Ashley would be sincerely disappointed in my sewing skills after hitting the teeth of the zipper there, but you know what? It's my first time. So relax. Have a drink, Laura. Chill out a little bit. So I'm gonna whip this thing right back through. You notice I don't hit the zipper this time. And once we get to the other side of this thing, I'm done. Yeah, I did it that fast. There's a little bit of extra material between all of those little spots that I sewed along the waistband.
Honey, Frank the Tank is not coming back, okay? That part of me is over. It's water under the bridge. I promise.
But this is my big guy, and that's the exact pair of clothes that I just sewed. He's wearing them. You can tell he's pretty darned excited. He's a happy kid right now. looks just like a regular pair of shorts and a t-shirt tucked in. If you put a little vest on him, or if he's wearing a jacket, absolutely no one would ever know that these things are sewn together. But he cannot get out of them. It is flippin' impossible to get out of that without help, which for us is an absolute thing of mother frickin' beauty. And I even get a high five. Oh, he's telling me he wants more. He actually wants me to sew him some more clothes. And I get a thumbs up. And what the heck else do you?